Okay. I'm not really sure how to start this. Firstly, I need to state, do not send hate, do not harass or attack anyone mentioned in this stream or VOD. Just don't. The goal of this is to educate, correct misinformation. It is not meant to be a personal attack on anyone. And if I see anyone going to any of these people's pages or platforms or anything and harassing them or attacking them, you will not be welcome on our platform. So this is a YouTuber by the name of Michelle Manna. I did react to, I believe, one video by her before. There are a lot of problems with what they choose to do, even some of their thumbnails and the titles of the videos, just things that they cover. I'm going to be talking about strictly the DID content, but I will say that there are issues with this person demonizing narcissistic personality disorder. I don't have NPD, the body does not have NPD, we don't have NPD. But calling someone a narcissist when you don't know if they have a diagnosis of NPD or not is very harmful. So they've done a lot of content on Dissociated, and I am not going to state our personal opinions on Dissociated. I will say that Dissociated's content has helped us immensely. So we're just going to go through some of the content.
Hello everyone, my name is Michelle. Welcome back to Yggdrasil, and I know that today is a holiday. However, so shout out to the Dissociated Reddit for having this archived. Oh my god, you guys. Okay, so when I started watching Dissociated, because I used to be a fan of Dissociated, it was when I first started.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another video by Dissociated. Today we're going to tell you about how we communicate as someone with dissociative identity
Did you know that Dissociated likes psychology?
disorder and how we organise our life revolving around that. So we're going to do that today by showing you inside our journals and how we use.
I'm confused. When was this video uploaded? Because if this video was uploaded literally right after they got diagnosed, which I don't know, might be the case, then I would be more concerned than if this was like even 2 years after.
System to
I don't understand that comment. I don't know why Michelle would be concerned about that. I haven't seen this video at all. The dissociated video that they are commenting on.
organise our life. So
Yeah, let me just link this video for you guys in the description. Let me know if this works. I found it on the Dissociated Reddit. Makes sense.
you can always write in whichever one you want, and that's good because when you have alters, things do tend to get misplaced relatively easily. You can see we added sticky notes down the side to help us keep track of different parts of our life. So this book is our organisation journal, and the very first thing in here you can see is rules. If you are going to make a system journal, I 100% recommend first thing you do is add some system rules. This will help your system stay in the loop with each other, know the basic right and wrongs, what we can and can't do as a system. So this is the first page. It says it's a system planner. All members can participate, and this planner is for agreed rules only. Write to us in the journal.
I've just heard from a few different people is that they say like, okay, so we'll try to use the app that Dissociated recommends. Like every time you're out, you put in the app and say that you're out, and so you'll be able to keep track of who does what when. But then I've heard people be like, dude, like my alters, I could get 1 or 2 of them to agree, maybe.
So having an app to keep track of who's fronting and who's out is helpful for a lot of systems. It's helpful for our system. Not all alters are going to put themselves in the app or track when they are out, and it could be for a variety of reasons, but that doesn't mean that the app is less helpful.
But like to get everybody on the same page, so right after you got diagnosed,
So when we were first diagnosed and when we first discovered the system, like when everyone became aware of it, one of our previous long-term hosts, his name was Drew, and it started out with Drew knowing about 2, maybe 3 alters. It was much easier to get those alters on the same page because there were only a few. Obviously, there weren't only that few, but those were the few that he was aware of and who were out the most often. And I don't think that Dissociated in this video is claiming that everyone in their system was on the exact same page. A system journal is very helpful for a lot of systems. Having set rules for the entire system is also extremely helpful. You need to set boundaries within your own system and with other alters setting boundaries in general is extremely important.
I don't know. I really don't. Y'all already ate? I did too. I was surprised, but my mom came in clutch.
You have a right to express yourself, take care of the body, hygiene, and chores. We are all responsible for collective action. Now, I want to talk about this one, number 7. We're all responsible for collective action because this is very important.
I don't know if hygiene is spelled right, but you know what? To be fair, yesterday I spelled extensions wrong in my live.
When you're in a system, some alters are inevitably going to disagree on what they feel is the right thing to do in different circumstances and may run with their time with the body. So if they're out, they'll think, great, that's great, I'm going to do whatever I want now. When it comes to this, you have to remember that
this is just for us, but communicating with the journal has never worked. Usually switches are caused by like stress, a trigger, etc. We're usually not in the mindset of writing down switches because scared. Right, like even...
That is true for some systems. Some systems don't have the ability to have something like a system journal. It will depend system to system. It's not going to work for every system, but for a lot of systems, it is very helpful. For us, when we are more emotional and have more triggered switches, usually we won't even track them because it won't be in our mind at all to track them. It will be, there is something going on, we need to handle this right now. This is a serious situation or a crisis situation. It is going to be different from system to system and between different alters and depending on what is going on. That does not mean that having a system journal is impossible or unhelpful.
Asking me to write down my mood throughout the day would be a task, right? Like I'm a person without a dissociative disorder.
That is another issue that I have with this creator specifically, because they do not have DID, they don't have OSDD. They admitted in this stream right there that they don't even have a dissociative disorder. I do not think that people without DID, OSDD, or a system of their own should be speaking on topics that involve DID and systems. I think education is important. Advocating for systems as a singlet is fine and helpful in a lot of cases, but if you do not have a system and you don't have even a dissociative disorder, whether it be one with alters or not, it is going to be more harmful in most cases to speak on things regarding DID, especially things like what would help a system and communication within a system. It is overall very harmful because you are spreading information that in some cases it could be true information, but in a lot of cases it is complete misinformation, and if a system who was newly diagnosed, newly discovered their system, was to come across this video and hear this person say that a system journal is not helpful and that it's extremely difficult to get all alters on the same page, which it is very difficult, but you need to be gentle with new systems. Because if a system is newly discovered or newly diagnosed and hears that it is extremely difficult and impossible to get every alter on the same page, they aren't even going to try. and that is going to harm them in the long run. They could see this video and think a systems journal won't help at all, and they won't even try it. So they will never know if it's helpful or not. And that is extremely harmful.
We have some that participate, but most of them are just against the idea. Exactly, true. Thanks for sharing, you guys, because like it's stuff like talk about system responsibility a lot without frankly really having a lot of it. But my question is, like, I don't know, because it's like, is system responsibility something that naturally comes to you, or is it something that is genuinely a problem where it's
System responsibility needs to be talked about more. A lot of professionals, especially DID specialists, will immediately teach systems about system responsibility. We all share a body, so even though it might be one alter who does something, we all need to take accountability for it, figure out what we need to do to fix it if there is an issue. If an alter were to start an argument with someone outside of the system, whoever friends next or later, or whoever becomes aware of it, needs to do what they can to apologize and work on fixing that relationship if it is something that needs to be fixed.
It's like, dude, like, that wasn't me. That sucks that I have to apologize for it.
Yes, it does suck to apologize for something that if another alter in my system were to really hurt one of our friends, I would have to apologize for it, and it would suck because it wasn't me who hurt them, but they are still hurt, and that needs to be addressed. We all share a body. We have to be responsible for any actions that each of us take.
Or is it like, yeah, that was me because I have a mental illness, and
mental illness can be an explanation, but never an excuse. And just because we all share a body does not mean that we are all the same. So there is a very fine line that we need to be aware of. Yes, we are all individuals. We all have our own viewpoints and opinions on things. But we all share a body. We need to be responsible and take accountability for anything that we do. So just because it wasn't me who started the argument, as an example, I still need to take accountability for that and address it and work to fix it. So while it wasn't me, it is still a body that we all share. So we all need to take accountability.
And it is what it is. Because with dissociated, it's kind of like the first one. Or is it called the latter? I never understood the latter term, I'm going to be honest. Dissociated preaching on how alters are actually going to follow it. How alters are actually going to follow it. I have my alter 16 tore ours up. My therapist took 8 years to get them not to hate each other. Yeah,
Having rules set in a system journal does not mean that every alter in a system is going to follow them. But it is the same with boundaries. If a singlet would set a boundary with someone, there's no guarantee that that person is going to respect the boundary, but the boundary needs to be enforced. Steps need to be taken to remind that person of that boundary. And if it is still not respected, then it is that person's choice whether or not to even continue that relationship, what steps they need to take. They decide that for themselves. They decide what is going to be best for that situation. It is the same with systems. If an alter is not respecting the rules and boundaries that are set for the system overall, then that system needs to take steps to enforce those boundaries with that alter and take additional steps if needed. Having a system journal and having rules set does not automatically mean that everyone is going to follow it, but setting those rules and boundaries are still very important, just as anyone would set any boundary.
I mean, I can definitely see some alters being like, all right, y'all, we got this DID happening, and now let's work together to the best of our abilities. Because as you know, Dissociated did great in school, as they would like us to know. So, like, they're very, I don't know, dude. And so, like, at this time it was like Chloe and Kyle, like, they're working together. But then maybe other alters aren't as easy to reach. Our therapist makes us write our mood like a diary chart, and it's so hard to fill out because of the daily dissociation and memory gaps. Yeah, exactly. I've heard from a lot of people that it's like I have to actively think about who I am, and a lot of the time I don't know and or care.
That happens a lot with a lot of systems that we know. It happens a lot with us where we have a large amount of time where we don't know who is fronting. We're too dissociated to figure it out. Just because we can sometimes keep track of who is fronting and when switches happen doesn't mean that that is the case all the time, and it also does not mean that it is not helpful to keep track of the switches that we do know happened. It's not a one-size-fits-all. It's not keep track of everyone who fronts and it'll be fine. It's usually in between. When we know what's going on, then we will keep track. Otherwise, we're not worried about it. But it is helpful to look back on those times when we did know and try and see if there are patterns, what might have happened, speak to whoever we need to speak to, whether it be outside people or other alters within the system.
I don't know. No, system responsibility is learned through the reparenting technique after alters, and it takes years. Okay, got you. So, like, it's natural to be like, I mean, I completely understand that. Like, for example, if my sister did something and I got blamed for it, I'd be like, what the heck, right? So is it like that kind of situation type deal?
No. I'm going to say no because in that situation that they described, you and your sister are not in the same body. You do not share a body. You each have your own autonomy. In a system, we all have to share a body. It's like if a DID system were to commit a crime. You can't just prosecute one alter, the alter who did it. You have to prosecute the person, the body. It might be unfair, but it's how it works.
But at the same time, like, it is a growth to take system responsibility, obviously. Hence, my therapist had each alter write out their likes and dislikes to start as well. And it's like, so how do you like be like, I like when they remember when they did the positive trigger? And I don't know, like I've heard from systems that like valid system, I have valid systems. Like I'm gonna go ahead and say that all systems are valid, but I've heard from valid systems that like positive triggers are a thing. But I watched it and I watched a Dissociated video way back when I was still watching them, and Dissociated played a song by like Imagine Dragons in order to pull out Kyle, and like the second they switched, it was Kyle, and they knew that, right?
That can happen. Positive triggers are a thing, as well as negative triggers and neutral triggers. In some situations with some alters, especially if it is a triggered switch, that alter will know who they are. It doesn't always happen, but that is very often what happens, especially with triggered switches. It also depends on communication in the system overall, integration, if amnesia barriers and dissociation is a part of it. It depends alter to alter, situation from situation, system to system.
Those consequences will have to be dealt with by the entire system, not just that one alter. So it's a good practice right from the start to make sure that you all know that any action that goes on within the system that affects the external world is all of your responsibilities, not just that alter. You have to deal with it as a collective. This is just how we do it. This won't work for every system. Don't think that we're saying this is the only way to do it. This is just how
I'm gonna go ahead and agree with you there.
we've decided.
How is that possible? How can she have DID and BPD?
Okay. Having a personality disorder, like borderline personality disorder, alongside DID is extremely common. I believe it's maybe 70% of people with DID or OSDD have a co-occurring disorder that is a personality disorder, like BPD or NPD. It is extremely common. You cannot have DID and OSDD because they conflict with each other. But BPD and DID do not conflict with each other like that. It's the same as if someone were to have depression and anxiety. You cannot have depression and bipolar disorder because bipolar disorder conflicts with depression because depression is part of bipolar.
See, now I'm curious. I've heard Eva and everyone. I'd like everyone to know that I am not a medical professional, and also like, please do not come to me for sorry. Yeah, but from my understanding, an alter can, like, the entire body can have, for example, autism, or, you know, one alter displays traits that they picked up from from BPD or autism.
If it is a disorder that affects the entire body and brain, all alters are going to have that. There are alters who can hold more of those traits and present them more overtly than other alters. But if the body has autism, every alter has it. Different alters can have different needs. Some alters can have like a higher BP or sugar levels. It is documented.
Autism or on the spectrum. Like, for example, some alters will have tics. Sometimes it's because the entire body has Tourette's. Sometimes it's because it's a trauma response that the brain is wired so that it mocks as though you actually do have tics.
No, I mean, adults must protect the littles. You have a right to say how you feel. You do not have to hide, but you can if you feel you need a break. System comes before external relationships. If we start putting external things before our system, that generally ends in a little bit of drama. So it's always important to make sure that you know what...
You guys, I was making a video about borderline personality disorder and like the different types, and there is a subtypes. And there's a subtype that has more in common with histrionic, although it is BPD, it's not histrionic, it's just a subtype. I forget which one it is. But like, Dissociated said they have BPD. That's all I'm saying.
Armchair diagnosing, I said this in the last stream. You should not be even insinuating what someone might have. You should not be speculating. Especially with things like this. It does not matter that Dissociated is a public figure. It does not matter that they have chosen to share certain parts of their life and their diagnoses. You do not have any right to speculate or insinuate about what someone may or may not have. That is incredibly harmful. Unless you are a medical professional who has assessed that person, you have no right. You don't know them. You are basing it off of a very small section of their life that they chose to share.
What you and your system can handle and are ready to handle, and it's always important before you do anything external to make sure that your system is on board with it, that you're not feeling very switchy or traumatized or anything like that. You need to make sure that everyone...
Just, you guys, you know, if you ever want to go out one day, make sure you're not switchy or traumatized with people.
That's not what they said. It is important to keep in mind how you are feeling and any trauma responses that you may be having in the moment. The priority should be your safety. And if that means not going out to keep yourself safe, then that means that you may not go out if you do not feel safe.
Peace and love, Dissociated with peace and love. Hope you're doing good.
It's okay. First things first, your mental health is most important. And when you're a system, I mean, for us, we've got like 23 people's mental health to take on board. So that's a very...
My thing though is like lately Dissociated has been posting like, I don't know, like I guess they just kind of like will get angry at people on TikTok and then like blame it on Ruby. So I feel like this would be helpful for them right now.
would like to see examples of that. Because from what we have personally seen, we may not have seen everything, we may be misremembering, but we have not seen that. So I would like to see where Michelle got that from.
Important rule as well. System comes first. You may lose and gain people in the external world throughout life, but unless an altar goes dormant or something like that happens, you are always going to have your altars in your system unless you integrate. These are the last few rules. I've covered up one of them a little bit because it's personal and relates to abuse. So, collective vote before body alteration. This means haircuts, colours, diets, piercing, tattoos.
I actually like their nails here, right? Like, it's a little bit of the glitter.
Anything that can permanently or even just temporarily change the way the body looks, obviously with the exception of things like makeup.
And the thing is like, Dissociated is giving, like, generally good information here. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, like, if they're giving any misinformation at any point, but, you know, I feel like it's a pretty good idea to check in with your alters to make sure you don't go on any different hair colors, diets, piercings, tattoos. From our understanding of it, some alters can suffer from the body's I can read, y'all, don't worry. From our
later on how we actually decide that. Attend therapy even if it's hard or scary. And this one I'm covering up basically says don't respond to abusers. If this does happen, inform the system ASAP. Write down.
Wait, then why are they covering it up if they're just gonna read what it says?
They're covering it up most likely because there are names of abusers written there. I don't think anyone has the right to question why someone is omitting certain information when it comes to their safety. Because in a system journal, they may write down specific names of people or descriptions of people, or even names of alters that they don't want to share. It could be anything, but it is very obviously for their safety. They are reading from it, but they are changing the wording around to omit the information that would be dangerous for them to share. It is still important for them to share that general rule, but it is not important to share the personal details that they have written in there.
And what you did went out in the Bujo, which is a bullet journal, which I'm not showing you today because I'm not actually sure where that's been put. DoD problems. Sign and date with your name. So,
oh my god, you guys, it's so cute and quirky.
That is not what they said. People with DID and even other mental disorders and even disabilities in general, anything, often do make little lighthearted jokes and statements about their disorder to help cope with it. It is not saying that it is a fun disorder to have or that it's cute and quirky. It's a coping mechanism. And it also helps explain to other people who don't have DID what having it can be like. I don't know where this thing is because I have DID. That is what they said.
DID problems.
the system journal is the other journal. This one is our organizational book. If you are new,
Now I know how my friends feel when I go around saying, oh my god, it's because I'm an addict.
welcome.
So you know exactly why they made that comment. Because it helps you to cope. It's like dark humor. We joke to our friends about our trauma that we went through to help us, first of all, to help process it, because it is extremely difficult to have the knowledge of those memories and the knowledge of what happened. And it makes it easier to cope with it.
Please use the purple system journal to introduce yourself. This
I'm sober now.
is a safe place. So it's always a good idea to put a note to new alters or people who've forgotten what's going on or are new to the system so that they know how to communicate with you, where to communicate with you, and basically what's going on. That's also why we put the rules at the beginning of this book. These are the other sections. We've got members, so we've got a list, and I did put there, these labels do not define you.
You guys, it's just so funny because I haven't seen this video since I believed that they did have DID. So if you will, do me a favor, watch this video and imagine that you're me learning about DID for the first time and being like, this checks out.
I am not sure what doesn't check out about it. System journals are very common for systems to have. We did have a system journal when we were first diagnosed and first overall discovering the system and different alters. For us, it was very difficult to keep track of and remember to write in. So a system journal for us did not work. But things like we have an app called Simply Plural, which is designed for systems. That is extremely helpful for us because it helps log everyone, it helps keep track of switches when we can keep track of that, and it helps us understand each other better. It has helped with communication as well. But having a system journal is not uncommon.
Right? Oh my god, DID problems, so cute and quirky. It's so cute when I lose stuff. Oh my god. Okay, that was too much. Yeah, I don't know. Does anybody know if Dissociated shows evidence of variations of writing over alters?
Not all systems will have different handwriting between alters. And not all alters in a system will have different handwriting from each other. Let me see if I can pull up. It's actually quite ironic because we looked at this earlier. We took some of our handwriting from digital art that we've done in the past, just to compare some of our different handwriting. Some of it is different, some of it is pretty similar, but not all systems are going to have different handwriting, and not all alters are going to have different handwriting between each other. Corey's handwriting is very similar to, was very similar to Corvin's now because Corey fused with Evan to create Corvin. And Vion and Void's were fairly similar as well because Void fused with Nimbus to create Vion when Vion was still around. Not all of the names of alters here are alters that still exist in our system anymore as they were. But there are some similarities and some differences, and not all systems are going to have different handwriting between alters.
Yes. You know, and that's the thing is Dissociated has so much about them that is I feel very correct in terms of the DSM and how DID presents.
Again, I don't think anyone should be speculating on anyone's mental health. Unless they come out and say, I was incorrect about this. This is actually what's going on. There is no reason to speculate.
However, like, that's because Dissociated does a lot of research about it. Like, I could do a lot of research about.
Just because you do a lot of research on a topic does not mean that you are automatically going to know all of it and be able to act in that way. Someone with DID, like us, for example, we've done some research, but it doesn't mean that we know everything about DID. We know some things about DID and how it works. We know the basics. We know how our system tends to work.
About it and then like know this stuff, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not like you have to be a system to learn stuff like that, you know what I mean? But then when it comes to stuff that you do need to be a system for, like the like brain scans, but it's like, yeah, I mean, Dissociated, maybe they have DID, or maybe they learned from somebody else, like Multiplicity and me, or somebody, or some professional, that alters have different handwriting.
Again, not every system will have different handwriting between each alter, and not every alter in a system will have different handwriting from another alter. It is completely dependent on the system. It is not a automatic thing where if you have DID, then every alter has extremely different handwriting or art styles or anything. Sometimes there is differences in handwriting and art styles and things like that, and other times there is not. I think it's also important to keep in mind that DID is generally a very covert disorder, meaning that alters will mask as whoever is expected to be the only one in the body. And if someone masks for a long time, or it's even with things like autism, if you mask your autism, then eventually you will not really know who you are without masking. It's the same with DID. If I mask as, say, Corvin or Bailey, or Erez or whoever, for a long enough time, it's going to take me a while to learn how to unmask. My handwriting might match one of theirs, depending on if I was masking as, say I was masking as Bailey, my handwriting might end up being very similar to Bailey's, depending on how long I was masking as Bailey. And it might take a while for me to learn how to unmask. And maybe my handwriting would eventually change back to my own, and maybe it wouldn't. It depends. But DID is very covert. Alters mask for protection.
We had a writing expert analysis. That's so cool. And also weird. I would never show you my littles on camera.
I'm going to need to add this book. I haven't actually updated the members tab for a while, so don't worry about that.
And it's also interesting how Dissociated, right after getting diagnosed, was able to sit down, like, and this all is in the same handwriting, and be like, all right, so we have Jade, Nadia, and they are other, and then...
Just because you get a DID diagnosis does not mean that at the time of that diagnosis, you know that you have a system. Systems sometimes discover their system before getting a diagnosis. I don't know Dissociated's personal history for it, but communication will also be different between systems. Sometimes it is easier, sometimes it's more difficult. We also don't know if it was the alter Chloe at the time who wrote all of this in that journal. If it was, then it's also possible that there was another alter, such as Jade, who is a gatekeeper in their system, who was fronting and wrote out different names. And then Chloe may have written them down. We don't know when the video was posted, when they got their diagnosis. We don't know, so I would not speculate.
And we have, okay, for sure, this one is a persecutor. Like, right after you got diagnosed, like, a lot of people don't even know they're alters at all. Like, they don't know anything about them.
Fragments, other / to be placed. Because this book was made a while ago, and locked alters, and again, there's loads more now, but that's basically just how we did it. I kind of wish that we hadn't done
Locked alters. Ominous.
it.
So locked alters, in terms of how I understand it, are alters who are hidden away from the rest of the system. Sometimes they are literally locked up in different places in the inner world of a system.
In categories like that, it feels very two-dimensional, so I'd say do what you feel works best for your system. You can always change it. SMAP and IMAP stands for system map and internal map. Goals and long-term goals. So with
Wait, so dissociated... I'm curious how many systems have inner worlds, and also, my other question is, if you do have an inner world, would you be interested in drawing it for your...
It depends on the system. A lot of systems do have an inner world. We have an inner world. We have... I believe we've drawn it in the past. I don't believe we've ever shared it publicly. I don't even know where those drawings would be. But we've described it before. It is helpful for some systems to have that visual of where everything is placed.
or journal? Or would it be more like a person who's faking thing? So
You cannot determine if someone is faking just because they draw out their inner world. There is no correlation.
so that they can actually remember, because
DID is a dissociative disorder. It comes with a lot of amnesia. Memories will shift around. There are a lot of memory gaps. Not all alters will know about every single part of the inner world. Some parts might be inaccessible completely to certain alters. So it's not really a factor or thing of remembering where everything is. It's to have it for reference because of the amnesia and memory gaps. Sometimes we forget our own age, our legal name, our social security number we've forgotten. It is not far-fetched to forget things like where certain things in the inner world are, especially if you are fronting and dissociated.
you need to write it down or you'll forget because you don't actually have it. Or you actually, or like maybe I can see like people being like, no, I actually really do want to draw out my inner world so I have a better understanding of it. I could see it both ways. But so we've got Dissociated's goals here. We got monetization, sponsorship, collab with another system, write a book, 100 videos. This isn't like me. I'm not like this. I don't even know. I could be wrong. I have glimpses, but I can't see the inner world. Yeah, I mean, Dissociated, even though top 10 underhanded ways. What's up, Eric? Thank you for being here, by the way. I don't know if I said that. Just like, people who don't struggle with mental illness. Either way is iconic, though, because you're perfect the way you are. They're like, I just want to get the word out there. Like, I don't
Have these goals. A lot of you ask about how we decide what to do with our hair. For this, we have the life segment, and this helps us organize everything to do with the body and
I mean, this is a great idea. You know, I think this is, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but this isn't a bad idea. The only thing that I'm curious about is like, hair is not maybe a priority. I don't know if systems like.
It can be very, very disorienting and jarring, and it can create chaos in the system and dissociative episodes if an alter were to front and have something like the body's hair completely different. If I fronted and suddenly our hair was cut very short, that would not be good for me. I would not have a positive reaction to that. My reaction would not be as extreme as some of the other alters in our system, but I would still not be happy. I would feel extremely depersonalized and derealized because, especially if it was a change that I was not aware was going to happen, if I suddenly come back in the body, I'm going to feel like we are not actually awake and living life. I'm going to feel like this is definitely a dream because we have blonde hair. Even though it may not seem like a priority to a singlet or even other systems, for some systems it is important to have things like that. And again, it is a boundary that they are setting.
I guess I mean, healing is very important, but also agreeing to not or to dye your hair is also a pretty good idea if you want to be responsible.
general life. So I'll show you this bit, which is about hair. I wrote this bit, and then you can see that's Kyle's handwriting, that's Nadia's handwriting, it's different from mine. Everybody gets to choose a hex bit, and then you can see that's Kyle's handwriting, that's Nadia's.
All right, Eva, are you still here?
I'm assuming that they're going to try and compare the handwriting and see, oh, this is obviously like fake or something, and you cannot tell if a system is faking just by seeing handwriting.
I don't even like that term personally because it's like, I like how the second cursive handwriting is italics.
Sally. And those are how she does her kisses. So you can see that that's very different from mine.
Okay, you know how like when you see, for example, Dissociated, I get this idea like with the Mara stuff that Dissociated is acting.
I think this is a good place to see, I believe, it reacted to. Did they react to? Trying to see. I thought they reacted to Mara's video specifically, but I am not seeing it. So let me see.
I should be live right now. My camera is right here today. Sorry if it's disingenuous that I'm sitting so far away from the camera. Anyways, assuming that I am live. Hi everyone. Today I decided to go live because all of what's going on, it has completely destroyed their system. They're not the same system anymore. They're just different. Acting and handling the situation, and Dissociated just said that like literally the entire DID community is against me, so I am no longer a part of the DID community. And so I think I'll play it directly into that.
I'm trying to find because I know they've done more. I'm wondering if they were taken down or unlisted. Because I know that they have done a lot of videos on Dissociated, but I am not seeing. They do a lot of DID content in general, which I do not think they should be doing. They used to do a lot of more VODs. But that obviously changed. So, let's see. I really thought there were more. There had to be more. I don't know where the other videos went, but I do know that there were more. I have not seen this video though.
Misinformation can result in dire consequences. Disclaimer: everything in this video is completely alleged, in Minecraft, not in real life, and for entertainment purposes only. The individual talked about in today's video is anonymous, and therefore I have no proof of anything talked about in this video, all alleged. I do have my email open for anyone who is interested in Dissociated's content, and a misinformed friend nearly cost me my life. I will refer to Dissociated/Kaya with she, her, considering she goes by all pronouns, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong.
Kaya, I believe, goes by... Yes, they do go by all pronouns, but they prefer they, them for the most part from what I've seen, because they are gender fluid, non-binary.
Diagnosed with PTSD, technically PTSD in children 6 years, and takes place back in 2019, when both those things were still undiagnosed. Intangible disaster was an enabler, and that enabler would be a friend of mine who I will call Jay. My already terrible mental health covered by amnesia, I don't know, but either way, I mostly experienced alters co-consciously. But Jay told me that what I experienced was called DID/OSDD. Thanks for diagnosing me over Discord, Jay. You beat my therapist to it. And he explained that these people are called alters. He made sure to let me know that his DMs were a safe place for those alters and invited me to Discord servers that were full of fakers and misinformation.
I know that this person is anonymous, but you cannot just say that Discord servers are full of fakers just because they have Discord.
Without realizing that by doing so, he opened the gates to a flood of unimaginable mental torture. I guess this enabled something within myself because as a result, I suddenly started displaying bipolar behavior and people were worried about me. Too overt within the span of a few, to a certain extent, trying to copy the way Dissociated's alters presented themselves to the world.
That is not Dissociated's fault or responsibility. That is those alters and that system's responsibility for their actions. Just because Dissociated is posting doesn't mean that they are responsible for anyone who decides to try to act like them.
World, but I really can't speak for them. I hate myself by comparing them to Dissociated.
Dissociated has said in many, many videos, I believe in most of them, that it is just their experience and not all systems will have that experience. That is not Dissociated's responsibility.
Shine, even though I was far from that and anything to do with my aspect of life. They were not friends, they were a trauma response for the first time in my life. But for the next part, I definitely can blame both. Because whenever I protested or expressed any discomfort with these new experiences, Jay would keep addressing the issue of me not considering them to be separate people and claimed that I was harming them by considering them as part of myself, and acted like I was being a cunt towards real people instead of parts of myself. I still struggle to view them as more talking about them. In the meantime, I also started watching Dissociated. Both made me believe this was how it was supposed to be.
That, again, is not Dissociated's responsibility. Just because Dissociated is sharing their experience as their system with their DID does not mean that is how all DID presents. And Dissociated has never claimed it to be.
They were entitled to their own lives. Jay knew what he was telling me, and it made me open up about my condition to people. Most of the time, I didn't know who I was, where I was, or even who my own reflection was within a month or two. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. Always my name and co, my name and friends. I no longer exist. Always my them than he did about me. It was always my name and co. Jay. So I was just going to have to learn to love them, or else I was a bad person. Constantly in my mind, to the point where her for claiming to be a mental health advocate.
Dissociated has never claimed to be anything but trying to educate people. They've never said that this is how DID always presents. All of their educational videos in the past were backed up with many sources. So it wasn't like they were pulling things out of their ass.
Advocate who knew and impressionable people with undiagnosed mental conditions who are in need of a real.
I'm not sure how Dissociated's content is anti-recovery, so I would be interested to hear more about that.
Professional instead of a con artist upon when they look up DID. This whole experience left me terrified of whoever I opened harmful things. The whole TikTok faker culture that also partially stemmed from Dissociated's content kept me from seeking help for years because I was scared that my therapist would.
It's a lot of just that. I don't think Dissociated is to blame for what other people choose to do. I'm trying to find one specific video that I know is still on this channel.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another video by Dissociated. This is Jade.
This is already an issue in the tags. It is both armchair diagnosing and just demonizing NPD and HPD, which is not okay in any case.
What my role is like as gatekeeper of the system. Mainly, they either are able to control who has access to what memories, or who has access to the front. Sometimes, if there is a switch that needs to happen, or somebody who needs to be blocked from the front, a gatekeeper alter may be.
Gatekeepers are not just found in systems who went through things like programming. Programming is a very real and very dark thing that happens to it happens to a lot of children. And people in channels like Granddad's Lounge and people who promote that channel try to make it out as if programming is just a conspiracy theory that never happens. But it happens, and it's common. It's more common than people would like to believe. Ramkoa is a very real thing that happens to children. And by saying that it's just a conspiracy theory and trying to push the narrative that it's not real. And saying that it's just satanic panic and just conspiracy theories and it's all fake and it's things like that actively hurt people who went through it and the children who are currently going through it. So again, do not attack anyone mentioned in this video. Do not harass them. This video is just to correct misinformation. Just because they are doing harm does not mean that they deserve to be harassed or attacked. They deserve to be taught and educated, and I hope that they do better. What they are doing is not okay. And I hope that because I did not see as many videos on Dissociated as I have in the past on this channel, I hope that they are learning. And if they see this video, I hope it helps them understand more things. If the person who runs this channel does see this video and has watched this far, they are free to reach out through comments, through whatever. If we have any contact information, I don't know what we have for that publicly. But they are free to reach out. They are free to leave an email where we can reach out and discuss further. I thought I was planning on going through this video. I cannot. I cannot. I can't. I need to end stream here. We need to do some self-care. We will be fine. Don't worry about us. But this information that we are sharing in this video is very important. I just need to end stream. We need to go. I hope everyone is having a good day or night and do self-care whatever you need to. Thank you for watching.